Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hello Spring podcast. If you're new here, hi, my name is Stephen Jody Works. I'm an award-winning content creator, actor, small business owner, and an ADHD person who loves the color yellow. And this is Hello Spring for season 2. And honestly, it feels so crazy to literally say those words out of my mouth because I haven't recorded an episode in 4 years since 2021. There's 20 episodes that you can all listen back to with a lot of amazing guests, with great insight, knowledge, and overall good comfort. That season 2 is pretty much the exact same, but yet there's better structure, better questions, and overall same delulu-ness that we all know and love, which is kind of exciting because I really missed making this podcast, and I love to yap. I feel like I went to the school of yapology. I have my doctorate in yapology in this, and it's just great. I like to yap, I love to talk, and I love being able to just talk about whatever I want and talk to other guests about their background, their knowledge, their insight about the creator industry, gaming, acting, Hollywood, all the things. And I think it all boils down to one singular thing that I want to start doing things that I want to do rather than doing things that people want me to do, if that makes sense. I've always been the type of person that has been a yes man, people pleaser. And I didn't realize that until I became like 25, 26 years old. My frontal lobe was developing, and I was actually realizing that I was putting so much on my plate that I needed to start just saying no to like opportunities, hosting, traveling, and even like myself, saying no to myself was like a huge thing that I had to work on because I am my own worst critic. We are self-critical of ourselves, and I look at myself and I say to myself like, why am I doing this? How am I going to do it? No one's going to watch, no one's going to listen. But I think I had to take time for myself to realize that as long as I'm having fun, that is all that matters. And I never really went into making content to make money or make fame or do whatever. And by all means, I am not famous. I am not rich. I am just a regular, simple person who loves making content and yapping about literally anything that all these cool opportunities were because of the people that watch my content and support my content and my parents and the people around me love what I do. And so I think having that general like support and comfort kept me going all these years, and making content since I was 14 and now I'm 29 is so surreal. And I'm just glad that I'm able to do this as like my full-time job and make whatever I want, however I want, whether it's live streaming for 3 hours every single day, or making pre recorded content and uploading every once in a blue moon, or even vlogging, or hosting, or acting. They're all creative fields that I enjoy. And I've always been a creative person since I was very young. And I didn't realize that, like, making content online was an actual job until I realized that it was very sustainable for me, and I actually kind of liked it, and I still do, and none of it ever really feels like work for me. I think when I realized that when I was making Sims videos, I was just wanting to showcase all of my work that I've done, whether it's making machinimas, like little short films in The Sims 2 or The Sims 3 or Sims 4, and being able to upload it to the internet for other people to see. I was like blown out the water. And when podcasting kind of came around and became more normalized, I found like another avenue to be creative and another way to storytell. And with this podcast of having 20 episodes, I've learned a lot in those past 20 episodes from the feedback that I've gotten from the Apple Podcast reviews, Discord, YouTube, Twitch, my overall friend group. They've given me so much feedback, and I've taken all of that and I took it all in, consumed it, and I was overwhelming myself too much with all of that. So I took some time, wrote down some notes, how I wanted to structure it better and how I wanted to make this podcast not only sustainable, I wanted to make it very tangible for me to just have out there into the internet, because the internet is forever. Nothing ever is going away, never no things ever get deleted realistically. It's always somewhere out there. And I wanted to have this podcast where people were able to relate to it and have something to listen to the background, whether it's, on their commute to work or school, working on a creative project, or just wanting to have something to listen in the morning, afternoon, or even winding down for the nighttime. And I kind of like the words that Hello Spring represents: positivity, kindness, and love and community. And I've always been like that. I've always been a person that is giving back to the community that has supported me all these years. And this podcast is like another format of that, if that makes sense. And I think with me living in the Midwest for 20 years in Illinois, I think I've grown to understand the sense of community and the sense of family, where I've had my show choir family in high school. I had my choir family, my musical family. And then when I graduated from high school, I really got into the idea of really tapping into the YouTube side. I became a event coordinator for my school for 4 years. I did choir in college. I did newspaper, yearbook. I've done a lot of things that were all centered around community, because all these things are showcasing the community, whether it's musical based or it's editorial based, or it's just like seeing people in your day to day life. And now that I'm 29 years old, soon to be 30 in 2026 of February, I realize that it's definitely more exciting to just find that little pocket of joy that you can revel in and take it piece by piece and just enjoy that and not do too much. But in all my years of making content online for the past several years, but I realized in all my years of making content online, I really enjoyed the idea of working with my dream brands like EA. I have been playing The Sims for literally 25 years. 25 years of my life has been revolved around The Sims, and The Sims is all about playing with life. It's a life simulation game. Essentially, it's a sandbox game where you can make houses, create characters, tell stories, and just build the world that you want to build. It's so diverse, so open, and there's so many ways to really tap into your creative side. As long as you're keeping an open mind and think outside of the box, you can do anything in The Sims. And with all that to say, The Sims is another way of being creative where you can make movies, audio, whatever it might be. There's always something that you could do in The Sims. I think to say all of that, if it wasn't for The Sims, I would not be where I am today. I wouldn't be the creator, YouTuber, live streamer, podcaster that I am today if it wasn't for The Sims. It was another way, another avenue for me to be creative, whether it was making short films, voiceovers, little houses that I wanted to make, and kind of just be myself. It was a way to escape from reality for me at first until I really kind of took a deeper meaning to it that the Sims is like my safe haven, a place where I can create anything without boundaries and limits and do whatever I want. If I wanted to make a short film that wasn't being shown on the big screen or write a book based off of my Sims characters, I could do all of that. And to say the least is that if you wanna create something that's not being shown out there into the real world, use The Sims as a way of doing that, and then upload it to YouTube for the world to see. Promote it, showcase it, do whatever you want to do. But for today's episode, to kind of bring it back to the beginning, I wanted to just kinda take a step back and, like, chat with you all, have, like, this nice safe space to talk about book reading, why I'm starting my podcast again, and just really kinda get into the nitty-gritty of all things that I'm thinking, and my brain is always thinking of something which is a scary, scary thing. But I don't know about you, but I don't know about you, but lately I've been really enjoying reading as of lately of this year in 2025, because when I was younger, in like elementary school and middle school, I used to like devour books. Like generally, like I could not go a week without reading and finishing a book. But as of lately, as I got older in like junior high, high school, even college, I feel like along those lines, there was something that was missing, something that changed where like I just stopped completely I didn't enjoy it. Life was getting crazy. I was getting very busy with my day-to-day life of like show choir, magicals, musicals, and then later in my life, traveling, YouTube, Twitch, that I never really had time to read. And I always felt like reading was a form of like productivity rather than like pleasure. Because I want to read for pleasure, read for fun, and not having to read because I have to do something with it. And in school, I had to read books that I either enjoyed or didn't enjoy and had to write a report for it. That now that I am no longer in school and doing things for myself and working for myself, I am now associating reading as a form of pleasure, excitement, and just overall just like nice. Where if I want to write something, like write a little book report, a little summary that I'm of a book that I'm reading or listening to, then I can do it. Like I'm not being forced to do it for a grade anymore. I can do it when I want to, how I want to, and then kind of go from there. And I would love to know from you all, like, what are some books that you have been reading or listening to as of lately this past year? And why have you been reading those? Was it because of the author, the synopsis, how many pages there were? Let me know what you're reading because what I've been reading as of lately is a lot of books. My TBR list is lengthy. It's kind of insane on how my TBR list is that large. I get a lot of like book recommendations from like TikTok or YouTube or even my friends or just you all of like messaging me on like Twitch or Instagram about books that I should read. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize like I actually enjoy a lot of like mystery, suspense, thriller books. I think because I grew up watching a lot of those type of movies, like thriller, horror, murder mystery type TV shows and movies, and even like music has like another form of way of like understanding the book even more. Because sometimes people make playlists based off of the book that they're reading. And I didn't realize that music could really make a huge difference in book reading, at least for me, whether there's lyrics or no lyrics. And even like making playlists for the characters in the book, it really makes a huge difference. And I'm not there yet of making a playlist for a book, but I feel like I should. Once I kind of really tap into it, then I can really kind of go really deep into it. And the book that I just finished a couple months ago was called Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders. And to be fully honest, I did not know if I was going to actually enjoy this book or not, just because even though I knew the genre, which is like a thriller, mystery, murder type of book, I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it because book length in chapters and pages kind of deter me from book reading because if it's too long, I'm like, I'll never finish it. But this book was like under 400 pages, and I actually kind of like that length because I know that I can read a certain amount of chapters a day or a certain amount of pages a day and not be too overwhelmed with the content. But knowing like it's a thriller, psychological thriller book, suspense, mystery, I'm like, I must read until the very end. And it took me a while to read it because I am a slow reader and trying to relearn the joy of reading this year. And I've been liking it. And if you want to get this book, definitely check it out. It's really great. I have a Goodreads account that I will link in the show notes below. But essentially, this book synopsis is that someone lives in your house that wants you dead, but no one believes you. It's kind of like, the boy who cried wolf type of situation. And honestly, sometimes you think to yourself, am I going crazy? And is someone gonna believe me if I tell them the truth or not? And this character named Joanne, she's like this happy-go-lucky person, has this husband named Richard, beautiful daughter named Evie, has this beautiful house, and life could not be even better. But until her husband, Richard's 20-year-old daughter, Chloe, turns up, she hasn't spoken to her father since he married Joanne like 2 years ago. A lot has happened in Chloe's life, Richard's life, and Joanne's life. But Chloe wants to make peace with Joanne and Richard. She is going to move into the house for a couple of weeks to help Joanne with a new baby, and things sound perfect, of course. But when things happen to make Joanne feel like she's losing her mind, she begins to wonder if Chloe's really here to help, or has Joanne had made a or if Joanne made a or if Joanne made a terrible mistake of letting Chloe move in, and is it too late for her to ask her to move out? And it's like it's creepy but yet so captivating. It makes you wanna understand what happened chapter by chapter, and that's why I like Don't Let Her Say by Nicola Sanders. But I will say, when it comes to, like, thriller and horror, I never really associated that stuff to be, like, a thing that I would enjoy for the long haul. My very first ever scary movie, scary anything, was Dead Silent. I don't know what possessed me to watch that movie, but it was me and my cousin who watched this movie in the basement in the very dark hours of the night. Might I have you? We don't watch horror movies that much. I was 9 years old, and so I'm watching this movie. Okay, it's creepy, it's dark, it's, like, suspenseful and all that, and then it gets more creepier minute by minute, and I'm like, "What are we watching?" And then the rhyme comes out into this movie, and it's like this crazy old lady named Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls. If you see her in your dreams, make sure you never ever scream. And I'm like, that right there was like, no me gusta. I don't got time for that. So I had to dash, closed all them doors, locked them doors, and stayed in my room the entire night. Had that light on. It was creepy. I don't think I've ever been scared of a scary movie until I watched that movie for the first time. But now that I'm older and as I got older, I was never really scared because I feel like scary movies are not scary anymore. They can be like jump scary, like catch you off guard type of moment, but they're not scary. At least for me, I have a very thick skin. So, but I just don't get scared anymore, which is nice. But I don't go to a haunted house. If I went to a haunted house and I get spooked, someone's getting punched in the face. We don't have time for that. No, no, no. So don't catch me off guard and you'll be fine. But what I'm trying to say is that I really love suspense and thriller type books that really make me think and ask so many questions. I didn't think I would read Don't Let Her Stay and go chapter by chapter and highlight so many context clues. It's not even funny. The amount of things I highlighted on my Kindle was downright crazy. Every chapter, I highlighted something, typed in a crazy little question like, "What do you mean she's lying? What do you mean she's going to the store? Who is this lady? Where are you going? Why is it this and that?" It was a whole thing that I did, and I'm really understanding that I really like reading. I really enjoy reading, and I have to say, reading feels like no pressure. I don't really have a reading goal. I'm just doing it for vibes, seeing what happens, and it just feels like I'm flipping a light switch back on in my brain. And it just feels good. And I started like doing this thing called mood reading, where I'm creating like cozy rituals around like my reading time, making sure I'm giving myself permission to not finish a book that didn't bring me joy, and then slowly remembered why I loved to read in the first place. Because I think if I always have like this mindset, this goal that I need to finish this book and then go to another one and then another one and another one and another one, that I'm creating like this pressure for myself. And I don't want to do that anymore. And that goes the same way with content creating, that I don't wanna make videos just for making videos, and if I keep making videos to make videos to upload online, then why am I doing it? I think at the end of the day, I want to have reading and content creation form itself together and bring it back to where it started for me when I was 14. Joy, joy, and joy. Nothing but joy. I may not have a million followers or $1 million or this big old house with all these fancy cars and planes and all these opportunities. I'm happy what I'm doing. And if it wasn't for you all, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm so heavily grateful and so appreciative that I just get to play The Sims and play video games and talk about what I love and be fully honest and transparent about the things that I'm doing. That's not who I am, and that's who I will never ever be. I'm staying true to myself, my core, my everything, and you all are my everything. Hashtag Ariana Grande, my everything. Love that album. Anyway, but to all that to say is that with content creation, I want to make it happy and make it fun. And also at the same time, I want to have it where I'm making content, whether it's podcasting, reading, videos, live stream, where it doesn't feel like pressure, to reiterate what I was saying before. Now, the next book I want to talk about is a book that was recommended to me by my friend Ocean Sims. It's called The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris. And to be fully honest, I didn't really know if I was going to like this book or not, but since my friend recommended it to me, I added to my TBR list. And I always take recommendations because I never know what it's about until someone tells me. Now, this book is about a Black teen who has the power to see into the future, whose life turned upside down when he foresees his younger brother's imminent death. And it's crazy. That right there drew me in. It's a YA contemporary fantasy fiction book. And for me, I'm reading it through Audible, so I'm having like an ebook instead of like a physical book. And I want to talk about this right now because physical books, ebooks, and audiobooks for me all play different roles. If I want to get a physical book, I'll get a physical book. But 9 times out of 10, I will get an ebook because I'm able to take it with me on a device, on my Kindle or my phone or my iPad. I'm able to take it with me. And then audiobooks, I love listening to something because then I know I can hear the inflections in someone's voice, or if I can get like a good surrounding of like what's happening in that chapter or what's the character thinking. Because when I'm reading something, I see the words and I'm a visual learner and a visual reader, but I just don't understand the context, the full surrounding context, if that makes sense. And so listening to audiobooks for me has really allowed me to tap into books more. And I really enjoy audiobooks. And a lot of people I feel like audiobooks are not a sense of reading because you're listening to it and not like reading it, if that makes sense. And for me, how I see it, audiobooks are reading. It's just a different format. So is ebooks. That's a different format as well. And so everyone has their general preference, and I'm pretty much all over the place on how I consume content, reading or listening. And I find like when I find different genres on Goodreads or TikTok or Instagram, I'm always like getting people's opinion on the book, adding it to my TBR list, considering of what they said when I'm reading, but using my own inner thoughts of like how I'm going to enjoy this book. And so I kind of play around with the idea that books are meant to be pleasure instead of pressure. And what I love about The Cost of Knowing is that it's about the 16-year-old named Alex Rufus who's just trying his best. And he's trying to be the best employee, the best boyfriend, the best protector to his brother. And everything comes up short with him. And he tries so hard to be the best of the best. And putting that pressure on him really just makes it scary because anytime that he touches an object or a person, he can see its future. And so when he touches a scoop, he has a vision of him using it as a scoop of ice cream, and then when he touches his car, he sees it from years from now, totaled and underwater. If he touches his girlfriend, Tyla, he sees them as a premise of breaking up, and he's terrified of that. And he feels like these visions are like a curse, distracting him, making him anxious and he feels like these visions are like a curse, distracting him, making him anxious and unable to live his ordinary life. And but when he sees a photo, but when he touches a photo that gives him a vision of his brother's imminent death, and everything changes. But when he touches a photo of his brother, but when he touches a photo that gives him a vision of his brother's imminent death, he kind of spirals and everything changes. It's a race against time, death, and circumstances, and him and Isaiah just must grapple with their past, present, and future. And he feels like these visions are like a curse that's distracting him, making him anxious and unable to live his ordinary life. That when he touches a photo that gives him a vision of his brother's imminent death, everything basically changes and he spirals. He's racing against time, death, and circumstances that him and his brother Isaiah must grapple with their past and their future and what it means to be a young Black man in America in the present. For me to read all of that, I'm like, I truly understand. Sometimes, to be like fully honest, sometimes I feel like I can see into the future or into the past. I know there are times where people don't remember their dreams or sometimes their nightmares, but for me, when I was in high school, for some odd weird reason, I could see into the future. I mean, I'm not no Raven Baxter. I know you know that's so Raven. But sometimes I feel like I can just predict what's happening or I'm having like weird deja vu. And it's so scary. Like, I'm going through life seeing these moments happen that they've already happened before. And I don't do anything to prevent it. I just sit there staring at it and I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Why is this happening? I don't understand. And so I feel like Alex sometimes where I'm like seeing into the future and having a vision when I'm sleeping. And when I wake up, I remember all these things. And when I'm going through life, just waiting for things to happen, nothing happens. But I'm realizing those dreams are like months, maybe years in advance that it's not happening until it happens. I had a dream that I got on the Forbes 30 under 30 list for the gaming category, and I remember seeing that, and then I would love for that to be real. If it's real, exciting. We'll see hopefully in a couple of months. But also the other thing too is that I had a dream that I won an award for something. It could have been for a TV show, a movie, some type of animated project. I don't know what it was for. All I know, I was in the front row and they called my name and I won the award for something. And I don't know what it was for, but I'm kind of excited. And who knows? It could be next year, it could be in 10 years. But I know it was something, and that's all that matters to me. But to all that to say, The Cost of Knowing is so interesting and so in depth that I highly recommend it. It's less than 400 pages, and you can get it on like your Kindle or a physical book or whatever it might be. It's just a good book. And this author actually wrote the Marvel Spider Man Miles Morales Wings of Fury book. And I didn't know it until I looked up the author. And I'm like, I love Miles Morales. I love Spider Man. And so I'm looking forward to reading more books from that author. And then I find like each book that I read, I learn something new about myself. And I'm always like either shocked or surprised. And I'm like, am I going to cry? Am I going to be happy? Am I going to be sad? I never really know until I actually read the whole thing. And time again, I'll read the book's back cover to know if I'm going to like it. And sometimes I read the last chapter of the book before I read the first chapter of the book. It's a weird concept of how I do things, like with my little rituals that I do. Because like if I read the last chapter, I'll know what happened, but then I kind of want to understand what actually happened in the previous chapters that led up to that point. And so I've done it recently with Don't Let Her Stay. I know what happens, and the ending of that book is downright crazy. I haven't read The Cost of Knowing, but when I read it, I'm going to read the back cover and I know I'm going to love it. And personally, I think y'all should definitely try that yourself if you would love to. But the next book that I do recommend that is a must read is another like mystery thriller book, and it's called The Retirement Plan. It's not the movie. The Retirement Plan was Nicolas Cage. It's not what that is, but it's The Retirement Plan made by Sue Heisenberg. And I found this through Goodreads because of other genres that I've read in the past that are like similar vibes. But basically, it's about these three middle aged best friends turned to murder in order to collect their husband's life insurance policies. But they're unaware that their husbands have a devious plan of their own in this darkly funny debut. And I'm like, hold on. I just watched this new film of the Thursday Murder Club on Netflix. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yes. And there's a podcast out there named and there's a podcast out there made by Aaron Mahnke. It's the Lore Podcast, and I love that podcast more than anything. It was the first podcast I ever listened to, and I was hooked from the very beginning. And I think mystery really draws people in. It draws me in, definitely for sure. But the retirement plan is about these three wives wanting a new life, and their husbands are in the way. I'm going to read you the synopsis of this book and kind of give you my inner thoughts later. But essentially, it reads After 30 years of friendship, Pam dreams of her perfect retirement with Nancy, Stelisa, Marlene, and their husbands, until their husbands pool their funds for an investment that goes terribly wrong, and their dreams of and their dreams of beachfront condos and a sunny, carefree retirement vanish. The golden years of a looking the golden years are looking as dreary as their marriages. But when one husband dies in a freak accident, the other three women are shocked to see his widow rebound with a huge life insurance payout and a new life in Florida. In the aftermath, the women discover their husbands have an identical 7-figure life insurance policies. A new dream forms, and this time it involves a hitman. Meanwhile, their husbands have a secret retirement plan of their own, so when things begin to go awry, they fear their own scheme may backfire with a deadly consequences. The husbands scramble to stay alive. The husbands scramble to stay alive, but they may not be fast enough to outmaneuver their wives. But what follows is a high stakes tale of cat and mouse, both laugh out loud funny and unbearably tense, while ultimately a big hearted look at marriage, friendship, and middle age. Now, that is iconic. That right there is what got me hooked. I think reading books in general have their pros and cons. They're either really interesting or really boring. But I think when I'm like going down the rabbit hole of all these books that I'm like telling you all about, is that the books have to be good. The books have to have a middle or a beginning, middle, and end, but the middle has to really draw me in to like keep going forward. And like I said before, is that I don't want to have like a set schedule, a set goal to finish a book at a certain time at a certain pace, because I think if I give myself a goal and I don't achieve that goal, I kind of feel sad and down and unaccomplished about life. So having no reading goal and just pure vibes and picking up a book when I want to, how I want to, and for how long is my own time and how I want to do it. And I think that that makes me wanna go back into just doing things how I wanna do it with videos, recording, everyday life. But I wanna talk about rituals because vibes definitely truly matter, especially for me. It's like a big cup of tea, a soft blanket, and reading under warm lights, whether it's in my bedroom, my office, in a nice little coffee house, a library, or whatever it might be. And the way that I've been keeping track of all of my books and all the things that I've been reading is using like Notion and Goodreads. And I find like Goodreads is like a really good platform to use to track everything and leave reviews. But then Notion, on the other hand, is like an open ended platform that I could also use to keep track of my books that I'm reading, the TV shows that I'm watching, the movies that I'm watching, when they come out, how I'm rating them, and also a really great content planner. I think with these rituals that I'm building for myself, I needed structure. And structure always boiled down on how I want to structure my life. And when I was in 8th grade, I literally planned out my entire life until the age of 30. And I'm not even 30 yet. I'm only 29. I'll be 30 in like a couple of months. But regardless, I planned out my entire life because I am a full on planner. When I have a plan for myself, I feel okay. And I was like saying I don't need goals or whatever, but I like to achieve goals on my own time and not feel like rushed to complete them. Like, for example, buy a house by 30. It may not happen, but it's on there. I can change it however I want. It's not set in stone. I said I wanted to be on Forbes 30 under 30 before I'm 30 because you have to be under 30 to get on the list. But, if it happens, cool. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. At least I did something about it and talked about it and applied for it. But then the other thing too about it is that when you have something that you can look at that is tangible and you have short-term goals and long-form goals, then you can kind of mix them around, change them each day if you want to. They're not concrete. They don't have to be set in stone. You just build it as you go. And every single day, we're always thinking of new goals, new ways to achieve something greater in life, trying to outbeat our next video, how to change the algorithm to like us more. And lo and behold, we can only control what is in front of us. We can't control other people. We can't control platforms. We can't control anything but ourselves. And I think thinking all of that, I realized that I can only control myself. I can't control how videos perform. I can't control who listens to my podcast, who doesn't listen to my podcast. I got to do things for me. And that's why I'm starting this podcast again, because this podcast is not only for me to just yap about literally nonsense, it's about making this podcast for myself, but also for you all, but something that you can take with you throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your year, and think about things how you want to do. I don't know if that makes any sense, but essentially restarting this podcast is kind of like feeling the same. I stopped for a while because not because I didn't love podcasting, it was because I was putting too much pressure on myself to make it perfect. Because when I started back in 2021, I talked to other friends, I talked to other people, and I listened to other podcasts. I'm like, if they can do it, so can I. I might as well try and see what happens. And to be fully honest, I went into it head on, not knowing how to actually do it. Like, I love to talk. I thought my live streams can be translated into podcasting, which it could, but that wasn't the case because I think the idea that I wanted to make it so picture perfect, it resulted into me trying to be the best of the best and trying to outdo myself each and every episode with a guest or with the questions or whatever it might be. And I think with me being, I'm going to say a quote unquote former people pleaser, I was trying to please the people that were listening to have them like saying, "Oh my gosh, look at this episode. Listen to this episode. It's all really cool things." And honestly, I'm really glad that I did all those episodes with all those amazing people, and they're all my friends. And I'm so grateful and so appreciative that they accepted the invite to be on my podcast because they did not have to whatsoever. But the fact that they did was really nice. And I learned something from them, and you all learned something from those episodes too. And I will have to say though, some of the people are returning back to the podcast that I think you all would really like, especially some new people. And there's going to be a lot of really good insights. I'm not joking. I've already batch recorded 10 episodes in advance. One, because I'm going to be very busy for the next several months. Then I'm like, let me just plan ahead and then get it all edited and then schedule it for every other week because it's not going to be a weekly podcast. It's going to be a bi-weekly podcast. So every other Tuesday, there will be an episode of the Hello Spring podcast for season 2. And I've planned out, recorded 10, but planned out 30. And I don't know. I've never been this excited about podcasting ever in my life. And since I'm on the topic of books, and since I was talking about books earlier, I was going through my book collection that I had in my office, and I found this book called Make Noise: A Creator's Guide to Podcasting and Great Audio Storytelling. And I don't know where I got this book from. I don't know. I don't think I bought it at a library or whatever. I think I got it for a class that I was taking in university, like an audio engineering class, and I think that's why I got it, but I literally could not remember exactly why. But I'm glad that I have this because now I'm in, like, a new season of my life where I'm doing things that I want to do and how I wanna do it, and reading this book is saving me so much trouble and so much stress from, like, doing anything. So having this book is gonna be so helpful for me later in the next coming episodes that you'll listen to. We're definitely gonna be having Nard Villain on the podcast, Ocean Sims, Danielle Build, Kimberly Crandall, and a few other people on the podcast that I know you're all gonna definitely love, and even more in the next couple of months. But now that I'm like doing this podcast, I'm showing up and sharing things that light me up, that bring me joy, whether it's a book or life moments, cozy routines, or conversations with creative people that I admire. And honestly, this is like my little way of reconnecting with my inner self. Like, child like me, I was doing literally anything and everything to be seen, be out there, be in the world. And now that I'm, like, older, I'm doing things that bring me joy, putting myself in situations and groups and rooms that bring me joy rather than like, I want to be in this group because I want to get something out of it, you know? And I never go into these situations now of wanting something. I never expect anything back to me. Like I never expect somebody to give me something ever now. When I was younger, I thought like if I did something nice, I expect something back. But that was when I was in high school. High school ruined me. But as I got out of high school, I realized like I just want to give back no matter how much time or how much effort it takes me. I just want to do it and expect nothing. And now that I have this platform thanks to you all, I get to do so many amazing things and I want to continue to do amazing things. And I take every opportunity that comes my way that allows me to give back, whether it's doing a charity fundraiser, donating to charity, helping someone in need, or shining light on someone new. And I've done so many things on YouTube. I did the Simness Showcase so many years ago. If you remember that little series I did on my main YouTube channel, the Simness Showcase, where I was highlighting a different simmer basically, I think for 25 days leading up to Christmas, and every 5 days I highlighted two simmers. And I remember I highlighted so many different people that I personally did not know, but I found so many genuine, kind, and creative creators back then that still make content till this day. And I did an episode with Dr. Ashley in season one, who was a part of that Sims showcase. And way back then, she only did a lot of base game builds in The Sims 4, and she only had base game on a Mac laptop, Mac computer. And lo and behold, several years later, so many things has come her way. She's done so many amazing and creative things, and I'm just so happy for her and what she's doing. And now she's like doing great stuff in the world. But I just remember the bare beginnings of a lot of people that I've talked to or have watched, like my friend Ocean Sims. I remember the very beginnings of that channel. So cool, so grand, so great, and doing so many great things. I always mention whenever I talk to Ocean, dear old Charlie Ann, the Charlie Ann series. Ooh, I don't know what it is, but something about like somebody's first video is what you remember the most. At least for me, it does. I remember Charlie Ann. I remember the City Living Let's Play with those three roommates, those three friends. And I just remember everything. I remember my friend Simsy's first video. I remember Stepho Sim's first video. And even if those videos are like privated or unlisted, I still remember those because it was like a core memory, and I do remember a lot of things time and time again, but then I do be forgetful half of the time. But lo and behold, everything that I'm doing now in my life leading up to this point in the past 4 years is I'm finding little ways to reconnect with my inner child. And this podcast for season two is reconnecting with my inner child, talking about books, connections, love, and creativity. And so, to be fully honest, to keep moving forward, is that with this, acting comes into play. Acting has been one of those things that I've always wanted to do. Growing up watching TV, I'm like, I want to be on Disney Channel. I want to be a Nickelodeon star. I mean, now that we know what that industry was documentaries coming out, I'm like, ooh, I'm glad I wasn't a child actor. But I did love those movies and those TV shows because those TVs and movies like raised me of who I am today, whether it's like being a dancer or music or acting and storytelling. And, like, being able to see myself on screen as a Black male in America on screen was so inspiring, and my favorite actor of all time is Denzel Washington. He's a Black male in America, has done so many things in the world, in movies and TV and in society and the industry. He's done so much, and he's so inspiring that one day I would love to work with him or just talk to him, to be fully honest. But I find like acting is like another form of storytelling, and I use The Sims as my avenue for storytelling. And since I was in Chicago Fire for that one episode, that was so exciting. Thanks to my agent at Barron Entertainment for giving me that opportunity. My acting coach, Kimberly Crandall, for coaching me through my entire acting career. and my manager, Albert, at AE Talent. Phenomenal people. And I just I feel like whenever I get a chance to audition for something, I get so excited to really tap into the character's mindset, the character's psyche of understanding like who they are, where they are, what they're doing, how they got there, and like what's the end result. And it's so fun. It's so much fun to like figure out like the balance between a character and like who they're talking to or what situation they're in. And for me, I want to be in front of the camera and also behind the camera. I said before that being on The Sims Spark, I felt like in that scenario, it was reality TV. It was a gaming competition show. And I loved it. I loved the idea of all of that. But that situation was a lot. So I'd rather be behind the camera in that scenario, but I also want to be in the front of the camera because now I feel a lot better with my life and I'm balancing so many different things in the best way possible. But to kind of go forward with all of this, what I've been learning about myself is remembering the why, the reason why I'm doing this. And the why is because I want to and because I love it. And something that I've been doing for the past couple of years since 2021 and ending season one of my podcast is that I've been reading quotes and understanding more about them, especially when quotes are related to my birth month of February. And I found this one a couple of weeks ago on Instagram, and it's basically February the Wild Heart. You feel deeply, love freely, and never try to shrink yourself to fit expectations. You make people feel alive just by being near you. You remind others that softness and freedom can coexist, that love can be electric and safe at the same time. And personally, it's basically if your birth month was a green flag. And for me, I feel like being a Pisces, I am so heavily creative. I'm so emotional. I can cry about literally anything. I mean, I could look at a banana and just cry because one, it looks good, and two, potassium is great. I love fruit. But I think personally, I get so heavily attached with my emotions, and I'm not afraid to cry. I'm not afraid to scream. I'm not afraid to be myself. And I think that's like a huge green flag. Like, if you change yourself to please other people, then who are you? Like, fully ask yourself, who are you as a person? Period. But I think the way I want to wrap this whole episode off is like just be yourself, be kind to yourself. You are worth living, you are worth loving, and you are just 100% worth it. And if you could take anything from this podcast episode, let me know in the comments below on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And going forward with this podcast for season two is that there will be solo chats that will have like this, some bonus episodes, more book talk because I love reading, and definitely a lot of cozy guest conversations, whether they're in the creator space or not, if they're a small business owner, an actor, actress, dancer, any form of creative in the industry or in industries in general, I will have on these episodes for sure. And there will be a lot more coming soon in the next several weeks that you will be able to listen to. But to all that to say, that's where I am right now. I'm falling back in love with reading, finding joy in little rituals, and continuing to grow in my acting, hosting, and of course, in the Sims community as a Simmer at heart. I will never quit this game. The Sims 4 is 11 years old, and I've still been playing it since day one. But bringing back this podcast feels like the perfect way to tie in everything together, to share stories, reflect on things that I'm enjoying, and hopefully create a cozy space for you all to slow down and feel inspired too. But I love to hear from you all, like what books or life updates that have brought you joy lately. Definitely let me know in the comments below. Reach out on Instagram, send me a message. Wherever I'm at, I'm Spring Sims on literally every single platform. But thank you all so much for listening to me yap for who knows how long, because honestly, I could yap for days. But to all this say, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode, the first episode of Hello Spring of Season 2. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell wherever you listen to your podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And I will hear and see you all next time. Bye!